And we've got a breaking update from CenterPoint now admitting that a significant number of power outages, unfortunately, are going to persist into next week. We're talking some 400,000 homes projected to be without power past Sunday night, a week since Beryl hit. Right now, 1.1 million homes are still offline. CenterPoint says it hopes to restore service to 400,000 more homes by Friday night and 350,000 more by Sunday night. So who can expect to get power back and when? Honestly, who knows? That's anybody's guess, right? CenterPoint's online restoration map does not offer a timeline. And we've heard from many of you who say it's not accurate. For example, the orange areas are where CenterPoint says it's doing assessments, but we've been hearing all week that those assessments were to be completed by tonight.
We recognize how hard it is for customers to not know how long they're going to be without power. We want to give you that information. We are motivated to give you that information. We want to do everything that we can to give you that information. So we are working around the clock to try to get whatever we can the best way possible.
CenterPoint says it hopes to have more specific information tomorrow. So a lot of people are frustrated with CenterPoint, including a couple who has lines twisted in tree limbs draping their home in Northwest Houston's Garden Oaks neighborhood. They reached out to ABC13 for help. Our Alex Blazarjian is live with their story and an in-depth look at CenterPoint's plan to harden up its infrastructure to hopefully prevent this kind of thing from happening again. Alex?
Look at this tangled web of power lines, how low they're hanging. And then if you look over here, you can see they're intertwined with this massive tree that's putting a ton of pressure and weight on this house. Now, the couple tells me CenterPoint has reached out to them via Facebook, but that was only after they reached out to us. To be clear, the couple still doesn't know when a crew will be out here to fix this.
I know from the front, you have no idea.
This is not the kind of house tour a soon-to-be married couple imagined they'd be giving.
We're a little worried about the wires too, so we probably shouldn't go too much further.
Bailey Dunlap and her fiance Brian Zirin just closed on this house in February. A tree now crushing a major milestone in their new life together.
It's frustrating, we don't want anybody to come out here and try and take this tree off and put themselves in harm's way with the risk of this being a live wire.
So, like millions of others post-Hurricane Beryl, they're waiting on CenterPoint.
We understand, they have so many priorities and the whole city is going through their own personal problems.
If there's one thing Beryl revealed, it's problems. CenterPoint Energy declared that with 2.26 million customers impacted, this is the largest outage in its history. But was the company prepared? 13 Investigates pressed a top executive for answers.
Was enough done in terms of resiliency going into this hurricane season?
No, that's why we proposed this plan going forward.
Part of CenterPoint's so-called resiliency plan would happen over the course of 3 years. It calls for a $376 million investment to harden its transmission system. Much of that money would be used to replace old wooden power poles like this one, with stronger poles made out of better materials like concrete. Another $268 million would be used to upgrade larger power towers to sturdier models. $31 million would move some above ground lines to under our highways.
2 to 5 billion over that period of time, I think is a band-aid.
Dr. Ramanan Krishnamurti is an expert in energy and innovation. He says the challenge lies in the density of Houston's population. A long-term fix would take more time and more money, he says. He says a good starting point would be with power substations and making sure they're equipped with technology to shift to backup sources when a part of the system fails.
Why that hasn't happened is, in your opinion, a funding issue?
It's a funding issue. It's a funding issue.
Ultimately, some of the costs would fall on consumers. Krishnamurti says in the wake of a disaster, people are more open to the idea because it's affecting them in real time.
But wait 6 months and that reaction is going to be very, very different.
But the focus for now is present restoration efforts. People like Dunlap and Zirin, whose entire home is at stake.
That's basically what looks like
This is the worst.
going to collapse.
Yeah, and we can see it each day getting worse and worse.
All right. right, now Alex, every time we experience outages, which seems to be often lately, the idea of underground power lines becomes part of the conversation. It was even mentioned today by some city council members. What do the experts say about that?
Well, in this storm, underground power lines absolutely would have made all the difference. Actually, Dr. Krishnamurti said, quote, it would have been night and day. But when we're talking about a major flooding event like a Harvey, not so much, because when something happens to underground power lines and they need repairs, those repairs tend to cost more money, and then they take longer to fix. And of course, we know that time that we're waiting to get our power back on, that's what everybody's so frustrated about. Erica?
All right, thank you, Alex. Well, to contrast CenterPoint's communication, Entergy is giving specifics on its restoration efforts. It released a detailed timeline showing when people living in certain areas should expect to get their power back. For example, people in New Caney and Conroe should get their power back by Sunday. People in Boulevard Peninsula and Huntsville should get power back by Friday. Entergy says it's restored power to more than half of the 252,000 customers who lost power during Beryl.